This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients, and a system that qualifies leads so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because nothing seems to work outside of word of mouth and referral-based lead generation. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead gen, leading to a packed pipeline that creates sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the talented Carlos Noche. And correct me if I'm wrong, is it Noche or is it Nooch? Or I should have asked that before.
Noche is great. Whatever you want,
Noche.
I'm all
Okay.
good with it. But thank
Okay,
you for
perfect.
asking.
Yeah. Okay. So I am bringing on today the one and only Carlos Noche. So Carlos, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Guys, I had the opportunity to meet Carlos a few weeks ago, and I was just amazed that he's basically like the entrepreneur with he's like a cat with 9 lives. Like, he does it all, guys. So I'm really excited for him to share what he does and his passion with you today, and give you an insight into what it's like to have multifaceted approach to things. Because there's a lot of rhetoric out there that's like you got to pick one thing and focus on it, and Carlos is defying gravity in that regard. And so I'm really interested to get his perspective on that and share everything. So before I hand the mic over, let me just share a little bit about him. So he is the CEO at the Noche Group. He's an investor, an entrepreneur, an advisor, and he's the podcast host of the 1% Edge. So I'm really excited to have another podcaster here on with me. So again, Carlos, thanks for coming to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Lisanne, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Even after
Okay,
you met me.
I know, right? So I'm really, really excited to hear a little bit more. Like, give us the landscape, the lay of the land. Like, what are all the hands you've got pies in, and how'd you get interested in these things?
Well, hey, look, I'm going to take a little step back. So just like anyone out there in corporate America, I paid my dues through sales and up the corporate ladder, and I was a worldwide VP of sales and service for a large multi-billion-dollar technology company. And I what I found out is, even though I had a great team, an amazing admin, I loved my people, the direction the company wanted to go wasn't the direction I wanted to go. And I had to come to grips with that and say, hey, I'm not the right person for you. So about 17 years ago, I thought I was just going to take a little break and recharge, like everyone needs a sabbatical. How unfortunately, I quickly realized that, man, I just can't be sitting at home. You'll find me at Starbucks serving coffee tomorrow. So I better, find something to do. So a good friend of mine, Scott Anchute, started this company called Visualize, where we do sales training and coaching around the value selling framework. And honestly, Lisanne, I joined him to do it I'm going to do this for 6 months to a year because I love helping people. And out of the 11 different courses I went through, it was the most impactful for me. So I'd love to share my story with others. Fast forward, I've been this month, well, whenever this comes out, it's been 17 plus years since I've been doing this Visualize for value selling coaching. Along the way, I invested in a franchise business that we've grown to a multi-million-dollar business as well. You should do a different podcast that I co-host on that I loved. And this year I decided to go on my own, create my own podcast, which has got 101 different challenges, as I've heard in your podcast, as I know you're aware of. And it can be all consuming as well if you want to do a good job. And that's been a blast because I get to have great conversations with strangers like yourself, and I get to meet new friends and learn something along the journey.
I love it. I love it. So, and I also love how like life tends to happen to us where it's like, you plan on doing something for a few months, and then fast forward, like you're almost 2 decades into your journey with Visualize. And so I'm really curious to know, like, how has that long-term involvement with them, like, formed you as a human being? What would have been like some of like the big, when you look back, like what are some of the biggest takeaways in terms of how you've developed as a human from that experience?
Even though I had a big role and 250 people worldwide and I ran one third of our business unit, I had to learn now as a consultant coming from the outside that has zero influence on the organization. How do I come in a way to really influence people's behaviors and thought process to get them to step back? And at first, it was really difficult for me. I try to be a nice guy and I want to help others, but you also need to come from a position of, authority and expertise behind it. I early on, I really had to tweak how I communicated with others to to be effective, right? And the other thing that me and my partners do, we focus on the go to market function, but primarily a lot in sales. And one of the things that's easy to do in sales, it's easy to become preachy on what you should do when you're not doing it every day. So one of the things we all do, we still, I'm 100% quota carrying sales rep is what I tell myself every day. I still got to prospect, you cultivate new accounts, close those accounts, and then figure out how we deliver them, all while I'm still prospecting, growing new accounts, and developing the business. And all that becomes a balancing act that I also had to learn along the way because it's so easy to get siloed into one side of the business and let other parts of the business, I'm not going to say fail, but let's say fall behind.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Tell me how Visualize is structured. Like, are you like a consultant in Visualize, or is Visualize like you're able to license the material and do your own thing? Like, how does it work?
So first off, the value selling framework, we license it from Value Selling Associates. So we're one of their biggest associates, if you will, worldwide. And at the core, we developed 6 partners plus some back office so that we could really not just go after, smaller onesie twosie opportunities, but we could work with large accounts like the ServiceNows, VMware's, Workdays of the world and be able to support them globally. And that's one of the differences that we really wanted to kind of focus on at Visualize. So the team is basically, we're all, let's call them, managing partners in the group. And, we're working together and we use not only our own group, but the rest of Value Selling Associates globally. So for example, next month I have a workshop in Japan. My jokes don't play very well in Japan. So I have one of our local consultants delivering it in Japanese who understands the culture and lives in that culture. So it's much more effective.
Okay, fantastic. So, are you kind of like the manager of the consultants then, like farming out what consultants need to go to what jobs?
So the way we work, instead of being all hierarchical and hey, one side sells and one side delivers, we always felt like that's something that other competitors do, and you lose your edge. So we were all, if you think of it this way, hey, if we win an account, if I win an account, let's say I'm going to be the account manager on that account, and I may either deliver workshops myself or use other consultants to deliver workshops. Listen, part of the trap is they get to know you as part of the process and you get to know them and their business is part. They're like, wait a minute, someone else is going to come talk to my people. No, I want you, Carlos. So for example, just a couple of years ago, I ended up doing this worldwide road show for a client. We went to Dubai and we went to Germany and we went to Latin America. And I'm the one that went because I had the background on how he engaged originally. So I was the one that delivered those sessions.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. So it sounds like this is giving you an opportunity to travel around the.
It has, my whole career I have traveled. There's a lot of miles on my hiney. So sometimes I'm like, hey, you don't want me, send somebody else. But I've had some fun. In fact, one little lesson for your listeners that I sucked at in my travels, I would always like, hey, we got to go to Sydney. I'm going to fly out. I'm going to do my event and I'm going to fly back and then go do another one next week. So I really never took a lot of time to enjoy my travels along the way. And in hindsight, I go, I know I was really focused on the business, but it's also nice to have a little bit of give and take. In fact, one of my clients is going to be doing, some traveling in Europe. And I said, oh, please just add at least a day or two to your travels. It'll make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really good advice. I talk to consultants regularly who are like, I've been all around the world, but I've seen none of it. And because you're just going from airport to convention center, from airport to hotel to business, back to hotel to airport. And so I think that's really, really good advice. So I'm glad that you reflected on that and that you're giving that advice back to the people that you're interacting with. Okay, so talk to me about the 1% Edge podcast. What role does that play in your life? Like, does that feed into the visualized business? Is that just like a passion project on your own? Like, what's your role with the podcast?
I'd say yes and yes. So first off, like the whole intent of the podcast is, I enjoy meeting individuals, having a conversation, and getting insights from them, whether it's on marketing or sales, hiring, prospecting, or even just personal life. Like we've had some great people come on talking about, on the importance of health in what you're doing. In fact, it got my fat butt back to the gym. Just one of the episodes I did with this guy that does, has his own gym in addition to being a head of sales. And, just like you're so right. I've been ignoring the health side of myself for way too long. And I need to get back out there because if I want to be good at business, I also need to be the best me. So my topics kind of go all over the place sometimes, but the intent is I always think it's me as a listener. Hey, if I listen to an episode, am I going to get something out of this that's going to help me in either personally or in my career to move things forward? And that's what I try to make every episode about.
I love it. That's fantastic. So, and it sounds like you use it as a lead generation tool as well.
I do, sometimes, it's great to have friends on and people, but it's really easy to fall into what I call your own echo chamber, right? You get like-minded people, you all talk. Yes, of course, this is the way the world is. So part of what I do as part of the podcast, I do some outreach and I try to then pull in people that I have never met. Like you, Lisanne, you're going to be coming on the podcast and I'm really excited to learn from you. And I get to meet somebody new. And it's been a great experience. And as far as lead gen goes, it also creates a real easy way to get to meet folks. So, like, I've reached out to CEOs and heads of sales and heads of marketing, and I go, "Hey, I've been seeing some of the stuff you've been doing. I have this podcast. I'd love for you to come on and get to know you better." And it creates a nice, easy way to create an introduction. May it turn into some business? Maybe, maybe not, but it's all right. It's a great entry way to get to meet people that normally are outside of your network. So, it allows you to expand it out.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. But the podcast, I agree. Podcasting is like one of my favorite ways to get to know people. It just creates a platform where people can have open conversations. And I find that like when I meet people at conferences and stuff like that, like people are kind of stuffy. Like they're a little bit like they're trying to present themselves really well and make sure they've got their elevator pitch practiced. But on a podcast, people are just willing to be more open and vulnerable and honest. And so I totally agree with you. Like the podcast is definitely a great way to network and meet people and drive business as well. Okay, so let's go back to visualize for just a moment. Are there particular industries that you guys work in, or is it kind of industry agnostic? Like how is the company developed over time in terms of who it serves?
So we work with all industries, but it's usually a B2B type of selling engagement. And you usually have some complexity to your product, right? So if we were selling ShamWows and we could do it on TV, that's really order taking. That's not selling. If it's door to door salespeople or we're selling cutlery knives, hey, I don't do that. So I'm not going to, are there some things that I would have advice on? Yeah. But that's not the environment I grew up in. So that's not, our specialty. So when you think about, hey, I'm selling a complex product like software, hardware. I'm a manufacturer and I'm selling it to other distributors or partners. Hey, how do I conduct those conversations in a way that really, instead of thinking of it as I need to go sell someone, how do I help someone buy it? If you think back to the origination of sales, it's really a position of service. So we're here to help people. We have amazing products behind us. How do we conduct a conversation in a way that we can identify this as someone we can actually help? And then really get them through their own thought process to be able to say, yep, you're the right product. I could justify the purchase. I got everybody aligned, and this is the right time.
I love that. Yeah, yeah, and I love that just that reframing you're providing a service for them, like you're helping them, right? Which I think is really important to remember because I think some people, especially like if you're younger in your journey, sales feels really uncomfortable. I have someone that I'm working with right now who she just gets so uncomfortable every time she talks about her program or money, and I can tell that she's nervous, and I'm like, hey, like You got this, like, your program works, like, just, like, you're doing them a service by giving them an opportunity to trade money for your expertise, and but it's tough to wrap your head around that, so I appreciate you reframing that for sure.
So, Lisanne, if I could jump in there, there was a moment in my career where early on I was in pre-sales is where I started, right? I was the technical guy that would show you how the product works, and I worked with the sales rep. And one of the sales reps that I admired, we were having dinner, and he looks at me, he says, "You're never gonna be a great salesperson, Carlos, because you're too much of a nice guy. You gotta reach into their pocket and take their money, and that's just not you." Listen, I remember that like yesterday, and my entire rest of my career, I've tried to prove him wrong. Yes, I am not the guy that's gonna reach into your pocket and take your money, and if that's the type of sales you need, I'm not your guy because that's not the kinda sales I believe is me, right? And no one ever feels good about one of those experiences. If you want someone that's gonna help you see the light to get there, it makes a difference. But early on, to your friend, by the way, the advice I got is act as if you're independently wealthy. You don't need to close this deal to eat tomorrow, and you're just there to help them. Take a big deep breath and just engage and try to be helpful. It may not be perfect, it may not be aggressive, but it's all right. It doesn't have to be you.
Love that, that's such good advice, and I also love that you're like, I've been trying this whole time to prove him wrong, right? Because I think that, like, the selling like that, it also is it's what builds real relationships, which especially like in the B2B space, like you need to have that established relationship of trust, right? And so that's excellent advice. I think I'm gonna pass that along to her. So I appreciate that very, very much. So how does the sales business, like, are you guys as consultants, are you responsible for drumming up your own leads? Are leads coming in from different areas and they're distributed to you guys? Like how do businesses find your service?
So it's all the above. If I were just to sit back and just wait for these great leads to fall from the sky in my lap, I'd probably starve to death. So, especially early on, right? Because, when you get later into a business and you get established and you have a network and you've built some raving fans and your customers already, you get repeat business. And that's awesome. But even that alone, if you're going to continue just to rely on that, you're only going to get whatever that piece is, and it's going to be constantly shrinking, right? Because over time, some of the people that you worked with that really appreciate your service are going to age out or going to go into different positions and careers, and they may not be your ideal customer profile anymore, right? We have their website. We try to do outreach. We try to be thought leaders on LinkedIn and other formats to get there. And that's another reason I also did the podcast, is to kind of really grow the brand. Is someone listening to the podcast going to call me up and say, "Hey, I want to buy from you tomorrow?" No, but it is a great way to kind of cultivate and show your thought leadership in the market.
That's cool. I like it. So mostly the methods, it sounds like they're mostly like word of mouth, referral based, organic methods.
We do some, like especially for, some of the folks, we do some outreach to existing customers and then new customers that fit the profile. And we have a whole prospecting, we call it vortex prospecting, that we go through to try to attack the market and flush out new opportunities for ourselves as well.
Nice. And is that done with like LinkedIn? Are you doing ads, email? Like, what do you know what channels are being used?
Part of the reason we call it vortex prospecting, and it's also what we taught other accounts, it's about using multiple channels to basically create a vortex around your ideal customer or buyer so you can get their attention. So let's face it, if all you do is do email, hey, it's a single channel, your odds of success are X. If you do phone, hey, your odds go up because it's still, statistically speaking, one of the better channels. But hey, it's hard to get someone to even, I use me an example. If I don't know you and I pick up the phone, odds are we're not talking for very long at all, or I'm not even picking up the phone, right? So, how do you create a way to kind of get priming memory with folks? Hey, you emailed them, you sent them something of value, you chatted with them on LinkedIn, so you try to use social, you met them or you had a presence at a trade show. Now you're trying to do your outreach over the phone. And for some reason, like, man, this Carlos Noche, he sounds familiar for some reason. All right. I'm willing to at least hear him out, give him 13 seconds. And then even those 13 seconds, what can I bring up that's of value to them to get them to want to give me more?
Hmm. I like it. I like it. Yeah, the vortex marketing. Okay, so I'm getting all these ads recently, Carlos, of AI SDRs, AI sales opportunities. Talk to me about what your company, how you're addressing AI, if you're implementing it, if how you're feeling about all of these products that are popping up. Like, how is AI impacting you guys?
So, I mean, I went back and I used AI, fed it all the transcripts of all my release episodes and asked for key themes. More than 50% of them mention AI. And I kind of feel like even more lately, it seems to come up every episode, if not every other episode, right?
For sure.
So it is top of mind on everyone. It's not just a CIO in a company, from a small business owner to if you're an XDR, you got to realize AI is part of our life right now. How we're using it, for example, when we do our workshops before, we would have them just go do research to kind of create their prospecting prompter to kind of help us build the foundation. Today, we give them a whole bunch of prompts, get them to use their favorite AI tool and show them how within minutes they can get the same data identified and cultivated so much quicker. Another thing that we've done is we've partnered with a company called Replicate Labs to create a value coach AI. And what it does is it allows you to literally self-assess. So I get on the phone with Val. Yep, called her Val. And I could say, hey, Val, hey, I had this call and I was really struggling with X. You can literally feed it the call transcripts and she'll assess with you. And she go, Carlos, around minute 4 and 37 seconds, you asked Lisanne about what was her main business driver. She told you it was all about driving extra revenue, but you never went back and asked, well, how much? Is there a certain time frame? And really explore that thread. You just moved on to your next question. So maybe that would, you should take this lesson because it really helps you out explore the key business drivers that create urgency for customers to make a buying decision. And so far, it's been really well received.
That's cool. And is that something you're using internally only, or you're giving clients access to that as well, or?
We sell it to clients. We can adjust like who the personas are that we're working with. We can adjust the products that we're selling, and it does it pretty easily. And we've had some big rollouts recently, and the feedback has been fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, getting real-time feedback, I mean, that's powerful tools right there.
And if I just, because one of the key challenges behind the curtain that we don't talk, every manager out there is being asked to be a better coach to help develop their team. And then you throw AI on top of it. How are you developing your team's AI skills? Hey, those managers over the last 10, 15 years, we haven't done them any favors. Sales has been, especially in tech, relatively a hurricane. Now it's gotten tough. You really got to go sell on value. And now you got not only the individual rep, but their boss and boss's boss that really haven't had to go through this, in a number of years. So what we find is with Value Coach AI, it helps get some of that off of their bosses and allows, AI to be, and it's also a different format for coaching that, let's face it, a lot of millennials and Gen Zs are more apt to play with than to have that one-on-one, eyeball to eyeball, uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so true. Such a good point. I love that. So what do you feel like it makes you guys different, right? Because there's lots of sales coaching, lots of sales enablement. Like what really differentiates you guys in the marketplace?
All right. So right off the bat, I got into this business and you talk about, uniqueness or differentiation. Anybody can hang a shingle anytime, anywhere tomorrow. So it's an easy entry business. Anybody could say they're a sales coach or they have a sales approach or they have a sales methodology, right? And then you throw AI on top of it. I could literally go in AI. I need a sales approach that really drives on value. Can you give me that? And your own enablement team can go, all right, let me read from this thing that I just, created 5 minutes ago out there. So when you go back to like, well, what really differentiates us? It's our people, and I know that sounds cliche most of all, but look, if you want someone that sits across the room from you, that's not only done it before, but is still doing it today and is staying up to date, using the latest technology to get there, they could really motivate someone to actually try to change their behaviors. That's our unique sauce. If you want just training, hey, we have online courses. I can throw our value coach on top of it, and you don't have to talk to me. At the end of the day, I think your effectiveness in changing behaviors will be good. But if you want great, you really need someone that's going to come in, work with your sales leadership, be an extension of your team to get there. I have a client in Alaska that I went out and just did this accelerator event on, and then they do an annual fishing trip with their top 15 customers. And I got invited to it. So I get to hang out with, you know, different customers of theirs. I'm trying not to name any names, and literally have a great weekend with them. Now, part of that came from the fact that, we do have a relationship with their head of sales and their organization, but, I don't think he would give me exposure and having dinner with their best customers if they didn't feel I was part of the team as well.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. Such a good point. I love that. Okay, so talking about your podcast, who's like your ideal guest that you'd love to have on that you haven't had yet? Like,
Ideal guest.
I'm not looking for like a profile. Like, I want a name.
Give you a name. So I grew up like the first 20 years, I was in technology. And in tech, one of the legends is this gentleman named John McMahon. He was early on in the PTC days. He's known for his belief of medic, and he's a legend. He's taken multiple companies public. He's got a great book too. I'd love to get people like that on the podcast. And even though I know he's a great supporter of one of my competitors, I love the fact that, there's so much that really we're saying the same things just in different ways. And he's a legend. So getting people that are legendary, even if, they're not in your wheelhouse or not, your number one supporter, but you can learn from, I think would be one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, and then you also like dropped a hint to me before we hit the record button that you're involved in a franchise. Like tell me what about that? Like what pie is that you're busy in?
Well, hey, you know how it is, and you run your business and you're running it every day. It's on you. And like I said earlier, I've done a lot of traveling. There's over 3 million miles on this hiney. So along my journey, I was doing some executive network, met up with a gentleman, and we're talking about, hey, I'm thinking about investing in this franchise and opening up multiple locations. And I was like, I'm intrigued. I go, I don't have any time to give you, but I could give you some advice and I can be an investor. And me and Brian Foltz started this thing. It's coming up on 13 years. Lisanne, I could tell you that the first 9 or 10 years felt like we bought a charity and that we supported 20 to 25 families every year. When you get the call of we're short on payroll and you got to write a check, it really hurts. But we stuck through it. We continue to adapt. We continue to change, tweak what we thought would work for these folks, and we could see a little progress, a little progress. And I'm happy to say it's a multi-million-dollar franchise this day. It's generating money coming to me versus out, and I still love doing it. We do our Monday staff calls, which I try very hard to make sure I keep, and then I continue to work them and advise them as we continue to grow and expand.
I love it. So what is the franchise? Is it sales? Is it a restaurant? Like what is
It
it?
is an 80-degree difference in my day job. The franchise name is called Sir Grout. It's owned by Threshold Brands. It's Sir Grout because we focus primarily when it started out on grout lines. So you come in and we do floor restorations, whether it's like bathrooms or tile floors, all the way to shining up your marble and granite in your kitchen and polishing it up. And if you don't want to rip it all out, but change the look of it, that's where that business comes in. And in each of our markets, we have a general manager and sales reps and technicians that go out there to try to wow our customers.
That's cool. That's cool. Like, I love how you said, like, it really is a 180, but I love how passionate you are about it. It's fantastic. Awesome. Well, Carlos, it has been seriously such a pleasure and a joy having you on the Marketing Matrix today. And I just love how much passion you have for people. Like, that's like, I think the biggest thing that I've gotten from our conversation today is like, you really, really love the people you work with, whether it's the people in your franchise or it's your customers or clients or it's the people that you coach with. That's really what shines through for me today from you. And so I appreciate you bringing that onto the podcast and sharing that.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So if people want to find you, follow your journey, get in touch with the company, the podcast, the franchise, whatever, give us all the details.
All right. So I'll give you 3 spots that you'll find me. One of them is LinkedIn, just like everyone else. And there's not a lot of Noches out there. So I'm pretty easy to find. The second one it's carlosnoche.com. I created a website that talks about some of our services, and it has links to all our podcasts. And the third one, if you're looking for to grow your revenues as an organization, check out visualize.com. That's visualize.com. And it'll talk about our services and our extended team. We'd be happy to help you out.
Well, Carlos, again, thank you so much for bringing your all and your heart onto the marketing matrix today. It's been an awesome conversation, and I can't wait to have you back.
Thank you so much.